Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheap Smut. My name is Katie Mizell.
And my name is Carl Mizell.
And this is our extra special author profile of Samantha Moran. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for agreeing to be our, I don't want to say last minute because that sounds like we didn't I just grabbed Sam. That's not what I mean. I just mean I'm forgetful as hell. And when Carl was like, hey, who's the November author profile? I was like, shit.
I want to offer a quick peek behind the curtain here because Kate tried to throw me under the bus on that one.
I did. It's all my fault.
It was because I said, hey, so who's the November profile? And she says, well, you usually do that. I haven't done that this calendar year. I went back and I was like, you talked to Shannon, you talked to Bjorn, you talked to and she's like, shit, you right. But it's a super special episode because you're a real life friend of the show and also fellow Michigander.
Yeah. Which is so funny because we had to go all the way to Virginia to even meet each other because why is an hour so much harder than 9?
Yeah. Now exactly. Now I was in your neck of the woods for work right after the tornado hit back in the summer. So I was like, I know she's close.
Oh, we had tornado warnings out here in February.
Oh, geez. What was that like?
Yeah, no. We had.
I was talking to her, not you.
Wrong love.
I'm sorry. It's doing the thing.
It's okay. We'll figure it out. What were you saying, hon?
I was going to say that right after a tornado is not the best time to stop by for a visit.
No.
So it was probably best that you didn't.
No, probably not. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the work of Samantha Moran, she is the author of the Cursed Souls series, the For the Dark and Depraved series, which we just talked about off pod, is where Wicked Little Rabbit, your book Wicked Little Rabbit, slots into that series, correct?
Mm-hmm. I'm working on book 2 right now, so hopefully that one will be getting more editions soon.
Hell yeah. And then you also have the Apothecary of Curiosity series, and then you have 2 standalone books, The Ruin, and I would say, based on just what I hear from Katie and other folks in the community, I would say your best known book, to me anyway, Without You, the book that nearly destroyed my wife.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's the good kind of sad.
I tell people I'm going to destroy you, but I'm going to put you back together afterwards. I mean, it's a journey.
It's fine. I honestly, Without You is a beautiful book. It's so devastating. It's a book about grief and loss and tragedy and moving on and all of that stuff. And as a person who has not experienced a lot of personal grief in my life, it hit me in raw ways because I was feeling those things for the first time. You made me feel them. That is like magic. You are a fucking wizard.
I would love to be a wizard. Ironically, that is my least read book.
Really?
Without You. It was originally released as a book called Tales of Grief and Healing, and it never found a home. I think the title and the cover of it just weren't appealing enough to readers, and so I actually re-released that book in February, and people seem to be a little bit more interested in it now. Yeah, but when you tell people they're going to cry when they pick up a book, sometimes they just run away.
It's not everybody's particular jam.
You have to market it as for when you need a cry. Because
I used to, at craft shows, I used to give away tissues with it when people bought it.
Nice.
Now that is a great place. I'm going to use that as our entree into the conversation. So this is something that you've talked about before, and I know that I've talked to other authors about this. How grateful are you? Now we met IRL for the first time at Sinful Signings, but how grateful are you for events like Sinful Signings when previously or oftentimes you just end up shunted into a craft fair? Is that something that's very common for authors? That you don't really have a place to go?
So when all of this started, I was trying to get into these things. And first off, you don't know where they are. So there's not really a great way when you're kind of getting your foot in the door to find all this stuff. And then the second thing is, especially when you're just getting started, especially when you write shorter books like I do, people go, oh, you don't really belong here. So I ended up doing a lot of local things. Like I do craft shows. I did some things at the library and local coffee shops and stuff, just to kind of dip my toes in the water. And Sinful Signings was the first convention that ever offered me a space. And because of them, I've been able to get into a ton of different author signings. But I still balance them out with local craft shows because, to be honest with you, as much as it kind of sucks to not get into some of these signings, the craft shows have been very helpful, especially the ones that are in the area, because I don't have to travel and then I don't have to pay for hotel rooms and things. So it's all kind of a balance. They're a good way to get started. They're a good way to meet more people who live where you are. But yeah, the signings are everything, because you know when you go to those that the people are there for a reason. They want to talk about books. Whereas at craft shows, you have to be like, whoosh, reel them in like you're fishing, be like, hi, I have things.
So it obviously with a book convention, there's that's the pretext is baked into it. So what was your experience like at Sinful Signings?
Oh my gosh, Sinful Signings is home base. That's what I tell people. They, like I said, were the first ones to take a chance on me, and ever since I walked into that door, I have been a family there. And Sinful Signings is always going to be that way. I've made friends with the organizers and the authors and the Sinfluencers and the narrators and all the vendors. Like, it's amazing. I will follow Sinful Signings anywhere, no matter where they go.
Absolutely. Sinful makes you feel like you can do anything.
Because you can when you've got Desi and Avon behind you.
Yes. Oh, they're amazing.
Yes, Sinful Signings made me feel like I could do anything.
Yeah.
Like I could wear a skirt, and I did. And I now it's my favorite outfit, and I
is.
fucking love that thing.
It is very cute.
Yeah, you killed it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's I wore it. I wore that same exact outfit minus the wolf mask to a 21 Pilots concert, and I got so many compliments.
Yes.
But so many people were like, "I love your kilt," and I'm like, "It's just a skirt. It's literally just a skirt my wife picked out for me on Amazon. You can just say skirt."
I grew up with men in kilts all my whole life. And they're cultural skirts. That's all they are.
They are. It's just
skirts with context.
The thing that he is wearing,
right?
The thing that he is wearing is just a simple black half circle skirt. It is not a kilt in any way. There's no tartan. There's no pleating. There's no folds. There's nothing. It's just a skirt. But if it's on a man, the impulse is to call it a kilt, and I think that's funny.
Yeah, and I like to see men who represent themselves in that way, because a lot of the times people try to shove you into boxes, and I don't believe in those boxes. Those are made up.
Amen, sibling.
So
when I was at my last corporate headquarters job, I swore that we couldn't wear shorts, and I was like, well, then fuck it, I'm going to wear skirts. I didn't. I never did, because I ended up getting put in a remote job. But anyway, we're not here to talk about my clothing. We're here to talk about your books. So just kind of give us a quick rundown of like a high level view of your journey as an author. What got you, like, what was your entry point? What brought you to this? What makes you do what you do?
Well, I've been writing since middle school. I joined a group in my local library called the Live Poets Society, and it started as poetry and then kind of into short stories back then. And so I was doing that for a long time. I stopped after I graduated high school because life was crazy. And I went into English education. I was a teacher for 7 years. I got married, I had kids, and kind of along the way, I think I just lost myself. And then we had COVID hit, and COVID just put everything into perspective, because we were all trying to just survive. And for the first time during COVID, I actually sat down and started writing with intent. I started writing books after my first child was born way back in 2017. The first one I actually started writing was The Ruin, which took me 6 years to finish. And the reason it took so long was because I kept getting in my own way. But I also wasn't writing for anyone. I was just writing for me. And I didn't start publishing until 2022, actually, after my son was born. So I have 5 books out right now. I write in horror, thriller, and fantasy, some spicy, some not so spicy. Everything's supernatural because people scare me and demons don't. But so I have 5 out right now. I'll have a 6th out next year at a minimum, hopefully a 7 and an 8. We're just kind of rolling with the punches at this point, and doing what I love because I can, and showing my children that I can do it, and finding myself along the way. So
I love that you said that, because that is something that we talk about Katie and I, about our children is that we want them. We are a very modern family, and that all of us probably spend too much time looking at a screen, quote unquote, whatever that means. So we make it a point to. They see us reading books. I've always got an instrument. I'm always, goofing around, playing with something. We want to see them, or we want them to see us being creative and setting goals for ourselves and in doing this sort of thing. So I love that you said that. Has your oldest one have they played around with it and tried to be like mommy and write stories yet?
Yeah, my oldest, she's written about 5 different short stories now. Her most recent one is Emma's First Day of Second Grade. She's working on that one. I actually have a nephew who's writing his own stories, but I don't know that really has a lot to do with me. He just is very intelligent and he wants to express himself. But the funniest part about all of this is that the books that I write are definitely not for kids. No. They're not. Even the ones that aren't naughty aren't very nice. So, I mean, like, I still talk to my kids about them at an age appropriate, level. And so my 7-year-old, she knows the titles of all of my books, and she knows I write about witches and demons and hellhounds and all these things. Well, as she goes to school, every time she gets a new teacher, she's like, Mommy's an author. And I'm like, you can just stop right there.
That's all.
Mommy writes books.
That's all they need to know. Oh, have I read anything she's written? Well,
no. And don't. Not while I'm around. At least don't tell me.
Oh God. I don't, we definitely haven't had any of our children's instructors tell us they listen to the show. I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be like, I love your book.
Oh, yeah. To have your second grade teacher be like, I loved Wicked Little Rabbit. And you're just like, what?
I would freak out for a minute, but then honestly, I'd probably look at this woman and be like, it's always the quiet ones. Yeah, no, I just want them to see me do something that I love doing, because so much of our life is spent doing what everyone else expects us to do or needs us to do for the capitalistic hellscape that we live in. So I want them to see that they can have dreams and they can pursue them. And if they want to turn them into a career, they can. And, that you don't have to be stuck in one thing for the rest of your life, because that's what you decided to do when you were 18 years old, because life changes. So I think it's been really good for them. I mean, mom's always busy. That's probably the hardest part about all of it, but they see me working for myself. And I got to tell you, my boss is a real hard ass. But I like her more now than I did 6 years ago. So we're getting somewhere.
That's progress. The good news is it's job security, because you can't fire yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem becomes that, but my boss is me, and who listens to that bitch?
Yeah, no, it's everybody else telling me that my boss needs to lay off. I'm like, she doesn't know how.
Can relate. Are you a native to the state?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Michigan, about 15 minutes outside of Ann Arbor. So if you know where Whitmore Lake is, kind of over there. Most people don't know where that is, which is kind of funny. It's in between Brighton and Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
And then, I moved out here toward Kalamazoo. I got a medallion scholarship for Western Michigan University. And, you go where there's the money to go learn all the things. I actually really liked being a student here at Western, but I graduated from Western. I moved out to Baltimore, Maryland for a year, and I taught out there before coming back because we wanted to start a family, and we didn't have anybody out that way. So we came home. John finished his degree. We had 2 kids, and we're just kind of here again. So Michigan's a good place to be most of the time. Sometimes it's the weather's a bit disagreeable. This year there's been a lot of spicy wind, but
spicy wind is a good way to say it, I guess, as opposed to murderous wind.
That's what
I grew up in a trailer park, so murderous wind is definitely one of my biggest fears. Like, if the wrong breeze came through, we were going to Oz, and I was not packed yet. I didn't want to go. So.
No, you were packed. You were just all packed in the house.
Well, I guess
the whole thing was going.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, bye, Toto.
No, we're Flint natives, so we grew up not too terribly far from you. So. Now, you said you talked about the craft shows being a good place to kind of is sort of a safe space to try things out. Have you Was there anything that you discovered at a craft show that you were able to leverage and put towards Sinful Signings? Like, oh, I've noticed that when I do this at craft shows, I wonder if it'll work at Sinful Signings, that sort of thing. Did you pick up on any good lessons to take forward to actual book signings and conventions?
Yeah, I've learned a lot from doing my craft shows. Lucky for me, I do have a background as an educator, so even though I'm actually more of an introvert, I can mask that really well. So I'll have, this conversation, or I'll go to events and I'm like, hi, I'm Samantha Moran, and then I'll go home and be like, right, for like 3 days, because peopling is hard. But when I started doing these craft shows, I was able to put some of my teacher stuff to work. And one of the things that I learned is that you're not there to sell books, which sounds super counterintuitive. You're there to meet people. And in order to do that, you have to kind of break people out of their bubble in a polite way, because when you go to a place, you have a certain kind of idea of what you're looking for in mind, and they don't expect to see an author there. So you have to stop and relate to people on an individual level. Like, one girl walked by, she had a Buffy the Vampire Slayer shirt on. I was like, hell yeah, I love that shirt. I used to watch Buffy all the time. Which one was your crush? Because I have like 3, and so we'd stop and talk. Or someone would walk by with a Jack Skellington shirt, and I was like, hey, you're my people. Come here.
To answer your question, Willow and Xander.
Yes, I do. I love Willow, but also Spike. Because he's so beautifully broken.
Perfect for me.
Yes, Tara. Oh. But see, Tara's so gentle, and Willow is so secret badass, and Spike is just jagged. He's jaded.
Yeah.
You get the trifecta.
She got to hug him.
I did.
Did you?
I had a lovely conversation with James at a comic book convention several years ago. Yeah.
Oh, that would be amazing. And he's an excellent audiobook narrator, too. I've
Yes.
listened to a couple of things he's read.
Yeah, no.
Phenomenal.
At first you could his table was real slow, and we walked up, we said hello, we paid for a picture to take with Katie, but I mentioned to him specifically there was just an audio only version of The Importance of Being Earnest that he was in, and at Pacific Coast Playhouse, and I mentioned it to him, and immediately he was like, oh, my people. And that's what turned it into, I'd say, like nearly a 20-minute like nobody else came up, so we just stood there and kept chatting with him
about theater things.
Yeah,
gotta find the groove.
Yes.
That's the same convention where Carl met Jason Momoa and John Bernthal and
Michael Rooker. We've told that story on the pod before.
That's amazing. But so the thing is, like, everybody is just a human underneath all of it, right? Like, we fangirl over these actors and actresses, and then some of them, like the people that I am fascinated by, will turn around and talk to me like I'm their colleague, or like, you're Samantha Moran. I'm like, no, I'm not. Bye. Don't acknowledge that I exist. That's terrifying.
No, to your point, I literally just, John Bernthal was standing there, and I just said hello, kind of nodded at him. He said, hey, what's up? And he's like, we talked for a little bit, and he said, so what do you do? Like, you clearly work out. Like, what's your thing? And because he's very into fitness and doing things, physical things. And we started shooting the shit about that. And then that's when Momoa came over, because he heard us talking about it like the big himbo that he is. And then Michael Rooker came over to make fun of all of us for giving a shit about exercising. And he's like, look at me, I still get cast, and then slaps his belly. So kind of speaking about that in a roundabout way, even though Sinful Signings was your first book convention, just in this pocket of the community that we exist in, you seem to be sort of the den mother, or a very much a den mother to a lot of people. Did that happen? Like, did you notice it happening? And once you realized that it had happened, how did you feel about it? Did you lean into it, or just kind of?
I'm going to answer that question.
Oh,
Samantha Moran doesn't know how to not take care of people.
Ah, okay. Is that true?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I don't know how to take care of me, so I take care of everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually notice that was happening until Sinful Signings this year. And actually, Katie interviewed me, and she was like, you are like an integral part of Sinful Signings now. I was like, oh. She's like, yeah, you've edited for like half the people in this room. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Because you're also an editor.
Oh, that's right. You are. Oh, God, that's so fascinating. So I've often told Katie, I know that Katie is writing and is very into the idea of writing, but I fully believe she would make an excellent editor. So in your opinion, what makes a good editor, but specifically, what would make a good editor for smut? Are there any, obviously editing a book, I would assume there are some skills and things that you would do for smut, just as you would for Ron Chernow's Hamilton. But I got to imagine there's some unique things to editing smut. So in your opinion, what makes a good smut editor, and what separates editing smut from like non-smut?
So, I mean, obviously any editor is going to need to be well read in whatever genre they're working in. But when you're in the smut category for editing, there are so many different genres that are like vastly different. And it's really hard to edit smut if you're not comfortable with it. You have to be comfortable with it. And you have to be able to look at it without judgment, because we allow free expression. That's the whole point. You're into what you're into. Like, don't be awful to people. Don't ick their yum, you know? And then the other thing too is that you have to be able to do edits without changing someone's voice, because everyone experiences it differently. On my end, one of the things that I think benefits me, which is usually by far not a benefit to a human being, is that I'm an SA survivor. And so I have kind of a different experience with sex than a lot of people do. It took me a very long time to be comfortable with myself and my own body and interacting with other people. And along that way, I had to learn a lot. So I learned about a lot of different kinks. I learned a lot about safety and about respectful and abusive relationships and all of these things. And they do come into play with editing as well. You definitely want to understand the terminology that's being used, because there are so many different words that mean so many different things. Like an Eiffel Tower is not a place. That's not.
Nope.
That's not what that means. And I think it's just a lot of like being okay, being able to go with the flow, you know, and you have to be able to do the spicy math. That's important. You have to make sure the right number of holes are being filled with the right number of things. And like, I can't do regular math. I was an English teacher, but I got the spicy math. I can do that.
Spicy math. Yes. Yes. Get out a couple of
you have to be good at that.
figures. Make sure all of the positions make sense.
I've made that joke on the show, like with other authors before. Like, I did the math. Listen, we've got a couple like leftover parts. I don't know if this fuck cabinet is going to stay together.
It was purchased at IKEA and put together with leftover pieces.
Flat pack orgy.
Oh yeah, but the spicy math is definitely a key component to it. Also, I think you need to be a very visual person to be able to work with smut. You have to be able to watch the porn while you're reading it. It makes a lot more sense when you can see it play out.
Oh, absolutely.
So, why did it never occur to me to watch porn while writing porn? That makes so much fucking sense. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's research.
That's genius.
I could
so like if I get stuck, I look it up.
I need to look up and see what the leg looks like when it's over the shoulder. Yes, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at the same time, you're also not. You are never going to be able to find a human analog for some of the peens that we read about.
Oh no, that's when you look at things like DP videos and things, trying to figure out angles and stuff.
Start getting into the weird Japanese stuff.
Oh yeah. You go to the sex shop and look at the toys to make sure you understand how they actually function. I went to, was it Lover's Lane not all that long ago, and I was like, hey, this person was writing about this thing, and she was like, oh yeah, we have that. Let's go get it. Like, let's look at it. And I was like, awesome.
That's wonderful. I used to work at a sex shop.
Great.
I loved doing that. That was a fun job.
I think I would really like to do that, but the problem is that I used to teach in this area. Oh. So when the kids are old enough to go to the shop, I might be like, oh God, no.
Yeah, that awkwardness never happened to me. I don't think I ever sold anything to anyone I knew that was helpful for me.
That's good.
So Carl mentioned earlier that he thought perhaps Without You was your most well-known book. I have to assume that at least of late, your most well-known book is probably Wicked Little Rabbit.
Yeah, I would like to correct the record real quick. I forgot about Wicked Little Rabbit.
Yeah, that book sells itself.
Yeah.
It's almost like problematic how well that one sells because I was not prepared.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Wicked Little Rabbit is the book that I recommend to people when I say, "Oh, I love reading smut," and they go, "Oh, you know what? I really only like reading like horror novels." And I go, "You need to read this book called Wicked Little Rabbit. It is a horror novel with smut in it, but it is a horror novel. You will love it."
Well, and it's so funny that you say that because people look at Wicked Little Rabbit in two different ways. Either it's not horror enough or it's too much horror.
Really?
And I'm like, I don't know how to be in the middle. Yeah, I've applied to a bunch of different horror conventions and been told that my books aren't horror-y enough. Not horror-y enough, horror-y.
Horror-y.
Yeah.
Horror-y.
Yeah, not enough horror.
Huh.
But it's fascinating because Wicked Little Rabbit is the intersection between horror, dark romance, and psych thriller.
Yes.
And it's definitely not like anything else that I've ever written. I totally was not prepared for this book to pop off.
It's not like anything I've ever read either. If I'm being honest with you, it was so unique in the space and so unique in its style. I am completely unsurprised that it blew up. It needs to blow up more. What's the second book about? Let's get on this.
Yeah, I've started working on book 2. It's going to be a Sleeping Beauty reimagining, and it's going to be assuming my books aren't illegal in 2025. Whoopsies. It's going to be FFFM with Sleeping Beauty, and I'm going for dark fae, not like the Take Me to Akatar Land fae.
Yeah.
So
I
have to do some research.
The same horror, psychological.
Oh yeah, I'm going to consume your souls.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I'm very excited to hear about this. Yay.
Yeah, the problem is I have 3 things going right now. So I've got Apothecary of Curiosities, where I now have 5 short stories that I've put into a collection, like a volume 1. And that's going to come out in early next year. And then I've got a bunch of people asking me for the 3rd book in Cursed Souls, which was supposed to be out 2 years ago. Oh. My bad. I get sick a lot because I have multiple sclerosis. And then 2024 tried to kill everybody. Like it was really rough. Mm-hmm. So it's still not done yet. And then I started, Wicked Little Rabbit number 2 here. They're not related. They're just in the same series because they're standalones. But I started that one. So my ADD brain is going ping pong.
Sorry, I just got back from I just got back from letting the dog in. So I'm just trying to
it's all good.
I'm just trying to catch up. What'd y'all talk about? No, I'm just kidding. I heard you talking about the follow-up to Wicked Little Rabbit. Do you, as an editor who also writes and a writer who also edits, do you ever find yourself like in the process of doing one and then in realizing that you're doing that with the other brain, like you're editing while you're writing, or you're editing and you're like, oh crap, no, this isn't my book.
Yeah, no, it is really, really hard to switch minds. That's why I don't edit other people's stuff while I'm writing. I cannot do it because I can't bounce back and forth between creative and analytical like that. And when I take on editing projects, sometimes they'll take me up to 3 months a book because, like I said, I have multiple sclerosis, but also I spend at least 2 passes on every novel that I take. And the first pass is trying to make everything grammatically perfect. And the second pass is trying to break it in the right way so it doesn't sound like you're reading a textbook. And so it has just like 2 different completely separate analytical components to it. And then if I try to think the whole time when I'm writing, I'm just editing every single sentence I put down. So I can't do them at the same time. And then usually there's a crossover period after for up to 3 weeks where I'm just like, I hate everything I've ever written. Like, this is the worst and I can't write anymore. I'm like, I'm going to give up. And everybody's like, no, you're not.
Would you consider your books smut?
One of them.
Just which one?
Wicked Little Rabbit is definitely erotic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, Katie, what would you call that? Like, where would that fit in on like the spicy pepper meter? Like
spicy pepper meter?
Like five peppers, 4 peppers.
Whose scale are we using?
Okay, good question. Well, the reason
on a rom-com scale, it's a 5 pepper. On a dark romance scale, it's probably more like a 3 pepper.
Okay, all right.
A rom-com reader would go into a coma. Wicked Little Rabbit. Like if they went in thinking it was going to be like one of their books, it would put them into a coma like a Victorian child.
My heavens.
Egads.
I wouldn't call Wicked Little Rabbit smut. I think there is there's an element of smut that is more pornographic than Wicked Little Rabbit was. The erotic elements of Wicked Little Rabbit were meant to be just as visceral as the horror, and it wasn't pleasant the way smut can be pleasant.
Okay.
It starts pleasant, and it quickly really descends.
And then, by the end of it, she's eating his fucking pituitary gland with her tongue, and you're like, oh no.
And making holes where there weren't holes before.
Oh, yes, new holes in the body.
Spoilers, but just my dinner. No, I'm kidding. Well, the reason I was asking that question was, if you would have considered it more smut adjacent, do you think that you have just full on capital S smut in you for a future book, or are you pretty comfortable like I've found my voice, this is where I like to exist, or do you think you've got that, extra pepper spice in you?
So when I originally started this, I was never going to do anything on page because I was a teacher and I was still working when I was writing these books. And the thing is about being a teacher, they will find it.
Oh, yeah.
And they will find it whether you use a pen name or not. It's going to be found. And I was honestly less worried about the students finding it than the parents discovering that I wrote it, because there are 3 types of parents, right? So there's the ones that are not okay with it, the ones that are okay with it, and the ones who are way too cool with it and would slide into your DMs with unwanted pictures or like very invasive questions and things. And you would think that wouldn't happen, but it definitely does. So I didn't want to do that as a teacher.
I would think that wouldn't happen, but Carl did not make a shock face. I did, but he did not.
No, that's because I'm a sports fan.
Oh.
And the reason I say that is because you two might be blissfully unaware of the fact that due to the rise of gambling in sports, a lot of players get death threats and threats to their family because they didn't score enough or they scored too much and ruined somebody's 17-leg parlay bet. And now they're broke, so they get Venmo requests and worse. So no, I'm not surprised at all.
No, I guess you just look not shocked by human behavior anymore, and I am. Wow.
Yeah, every time I read a new horror, I regret my literacy.
Real horror, not the horror Samantha writes.
No.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I was like, the news tends to be more horror-filled than books these days.
Christ almighty. Speaking of that in a roundabout way, and doubling back to what you were just talking about, without doxing yourself, you live in a part of our state, on the side of our state, that would probably have more of the parents, I would imagine, who are not into what you do. Yeah, okay.
Sort of.
Oh, really? Okay.
So the thing is, they're not going to be into it publicly. Absolutely not, right? But behind closed doors, people are very different.
Yeah.
And I would be willing to bet good money on a lot of the people in the area who are like, oh, no, going home and picking up the naughtiest book they can find on their Kindle and be like, oh, yes.
I
yes, it just depends.
I just hope that Betsy DeVos is an R.E. Johnson fan. That would make my day.
Like I said, I think it's always the ones you don't expect. Like, it really is. But like that is why I originally didn't go into writing the kind of content that I write now. But the problem is, okay, here's the thing. Cassie Between Pages was one of my first reviewers. Oops. And she came up to my table at Sinful Signings to get Wicked Little Rabbit.
Yep.
And it's dedicated to her. Okay. And the reason for that is because at Sinful Signings last year, Cassie came up to my table and she's like, you write such beautiful description. I need you to write erotica. And I said, Cassie, I don't know how to use those words. They're not in my vocabulary. I am a teacher. Right. And then she leans in real close and she goes, I dare you. And I said, fuck.
and when
Okay.
and she did that, and something awakened in me.
Oh my God.
Listen, I'm very
even
much
bigger
like, you
hug
can't.
next year. Oh,
You can't tell me that I can't do something or dare me to do something and expect me not to do it. That's not how this works.
She Marty McFly you. She called you chicken.
Oh.
Bok.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that how Desi got you to
Oh,
start a
yeah.
Kickstarter?
Desi, oh my goodness. So I would really like to make an audiobook of Wicked Little Rabbit. That is my goal, and I already have a narrator in mind.
Damn.
And it's a guy MC,
I know.
I'm going
James is not.
but I might actually look for a girl to play Allison's parts, just the double there. But I have a male narrator in mind, and I actually reached out to him this morning, and I was telling Desi and even that I was reaching out to someone, and she was like, "How are you going to do that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I am like BROKE broke. Like we are like whew, hopes and prayers and exhaust tank fumes like over here." And she was like, "Oh, Kickstarter time." So she sent me this whole outline of how to do a Kickstarter. And I'm like, "Desi, if I go to do that, that's a lot of work." She goes, "No ifs. We're doing it. We're going to work on it."
God, I
Like,
love
oh,
her.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is what I mean when I say sinful makes you feel like you can do anything.
Yeah. Sinful makes me think that I could be a narrator. I know I could be a narrator. I just have to get off my ass and do it. But maybe once you start doing it,
Yeah.
I'll start doing it as well.
You both definitely
Well,
could.
thank you. I appreciate that. I've run out of questions. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I like talking to you because you're just so nice and supportive and wonderful, just like everybody else in the sinful community. Here's a controversial question for you: is it Michigander or Michiganian?
I'm a Michigander.
Damn right,
100%.
because that is the correct answer.
Or I'm a troll.
Yep.
That's the other one.
Yep.
Because we live under the bridge.
Yep. For those of you who don't,
Michiganian. That's a whole mouthful.
Yeah, that's how you know people aren't really from around here. I feel like somebody else would be like, "Oh, I'm a Michiganian," and you're like, "You moved here when you were 33. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about."
Right.
Well, people in the Lower Peninsula,
100%.
people in the. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there, Sam.
No, I just said 100%. I agree with you there.
Thank you. I was going to explain when you said that we are trolls. It's because if you don't know, Michigan is the only state in the union that has an upper and lower peninsula, and there is a bridge connecting those two. It is the Mackinac Bridge. So the Upper Peninsula dwellers, or the Yoopers, as we call them, sometimes refer to us as trolls because we live, as Sam said, under the bridge.
And I mean, they're not all that wrong. If you saw my hair on a regular day, I look like one of those dolls you can just...
Oh no! When I was in the National Guard, I served with a bunch of Yoopers. They need to take a look in the mirror. I'm saying some of those guys that I worked with that were from the UP were not. They were half orcs, is what I'm saying. they looked like big old half orcs, is what they did.
Orcs. That is a good description of what the big fuck off Dutchmen of the North.
Yes,
look
exactly.
Like.
Hey, we love them for who they are.
We absolutely do.
No, 100%.
We aren't complaining.
No,
half orc is a cool thing to be.
Oh, yeah. I have a sticker from Sinful Signings that says being an orc is quite wonderful, actually.
I love it.
Now, I heard you asking while I was dealing with the dog. I heard you asking about the follow up to Wicked Little Rabbit. Do you have any? So I apologize if this was already asked. Do you have anything else? I think you said you got 3 things you're working on. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, so I'll have Apothecary of Curiosities out in the beginning of next year because I have those 5 short stories drafted and I want to release it every 5, have a 1 volume, 2 volume, whatever. I want to get Legacy of Lies out, which I think is currently about 50% drafted, assuming the characters continue talking to me, because Corinne is a pain in my butt. She just drives me nuts. She gets all like, "Oh, you went to write something else. I don't exist anymore, huh?" And she just stops talking. And then I'm working on Wicked Little Rabbit, the second one. They're not related, but I do have a character that has to at least make a character cameo in the next one, which will be a Sleeping Beauty reimagining. So my fan base, that sounds really weird to say, my reader group, we'll call them reader group, when they attended the release party for Wicked Little Rabbit, voted to have Braxton make an appearance in the second book. And I said, okay, but I'm not going to tell you if it's before or after the events that occurred in Wicked Little Rabbit. You'll have to fill in those blanks on your own.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I was hoping it would be Braxton.
Because I can't give you what you want. Oh, yeah, it has to be. I have an I Hate Braxton fan
Do
club.
you
He
really?
has to show up.
Well, Braxton
Oh
does
my gosh,
suck.
yes.
I mean,
He does.
in our world, we say eat shit. On the show, we say eat shit. When characters suck really bad. Eat shit Braxton. He sucks balls.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
I don't know. That's
Yeah.
the kind of husband I am. You don't like him? Fuck that guy.
He's ride or die.
No, Braxton is very much like, yeah, he's like the entitled rich boy with a good face that gets everything he wants and uses it and abuses it. He's an asshole.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
not supposed
definitely
to
fuck
like
that guy.
him.
Wait, I mean,
Yeah.
figuratively fuck that guy. Do not literally fuck that guy.
Yeah, there's a whole conversation in Wicked Little Rabbit about dubious consent involving intoxication that has Braxton in it. He's a mega douche, and
he
one of my
takes
readers-
home a woman because he knows she'll be easy because she's falling over.
Oh,
Like, he's awful.
Yeah. he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something like, drunk means no or something, and he's like intoxicated and can't remember her name. Wait 30 minutes and then see if she can, give you an answer. That's okay. Like, and that's the thing about Wicked Little Rabbit is there are no heroes in this book. Zero, like across the board, which is why it doesn't fit into the romance genre. But no, one of my readers, Lainey, she keeps threatening to shove a stick of ginger up Braxton's ass.
Ah!
And that would be really painful. So now on Redbubble, I have stickers that say "I Hate Braxton Fan Club" with just a knob of ginger.
That's amazing.
On the stickers.
There is a name for that.
I'm sure.
I can't remember
There's
it,
a
but
name
I'm
for
going to look it
everything.
up.
What, specifically shoving knobs of ginger up one's bum?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a burning thing. It's a very sensory experience, I'm told.
Yeah.
Give it a flared base first.
Oh God, right? Figging. It's called figging.
Figging?
Yes. It's
Isn't
called
that
figging.
called ginging?
No, it's not. It's called figging. And it is featured in Heel by Shannon Elliott.
I was gonna say, don't look at me like I'm supposed to know. I've read like 3 smut books.
I've
And
read
adding
so
to my
many.
Yep, there you go. Oh goodness. So do you? That's what I wanted to ask. We have to ask every author that's on the show: plotting or pantsing?
Oh, planting.
You're a plantser. Okay. I never.
Yeah.
I will always accept planting, but I will never offer it as an option.
Yeah, no, it started as just kind of winging it, writing whatever was in my heart, and then I would write a chapter because I like to stop at clear breaks, and then I would leave some bullet pointed notes for kind of what I was thinking, so I could pick up there when I came back. But unfortunately, with all of life just being kind of out of pocket for the last couple of years, my brain doesn't want to give me things in a logical order. So I've been writing my books completely out of order chronologically, and so now I have to write a chapter and then think about where it fits and then go back and kind of fill in a couple of chapters with bullet points and then write another one. So now the planting is evolved from where I was kind of going with the flow and winging it to holy shit, there's a lot of puzzle pieces here. But yeah, I can't sit and plot everything because the thing is my characters are real people in my head and they're like, I'm not going to do that. No, thank you. And they change it. They're willing to die. I think that's interesting. But they don't want to go along with my plan, so...
They're willing to die before they go along with your plans. This is why I love authors. Authors completely understand when you say something like, they're in my head, they're talking, and they have all of their own opinions and thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, they totally do.
And none of it is me. None of it is me. I know it's in my own head. Shut up. They're not me.
No, they all have pieces of me.
Yeah.
They're all pieces of me, but I think they're like little fractures of my soul almost. When we start talking about at least the main characters, all different components of my experience that's been turned into almost like a little pocket dimension, I think, with real people and real things happening. And sometimes I feel very bad about it because of the genres that I write in. But the show must go on, so sorry, not sorry.
Don't be. Do you? I find that I'm an idea person. I love coming up with ideas, and I feel like most times when I'm like, oh, imagine this, and I say, but I give the KD I give the idea to Katie. She's like, yeah, that's a really good idea. But then the execution is terrible. Do you find that you have like one step in the process that you tend to be better at than the others? Like, it takes forever to come up with an idea, but once I've got it, I can lock in, or I'm really good at revisions, that sort of thing?
So I'm really good at scene setting, I've been told, that I can make things look like a movie in your mind. And that's something I take a lot of pride in because I see it like a movie and I hear it like an audiobook kind of concurrently when I'm writing it, because I sort of cease to exist while I'm looking at my screen and typing. It's one of the only times my brain is ever quiet. So I'm trying to give you what I see in this little realm that I've slipped into. And I think personally, I feel like I'm pretty decent at banter because my characters just talk to each other a lot. And I enjoy that because we just talk a lot in the real world. It helps develop their character and their experience and make them feel more relatable. The part that I suck at, and I've been told that this is an ADD problem, is that part between the midway point and the 3/4 point. Yeah, the part between the midway point and the 3/4 point, because in my brain, I've already written this and now I don't want to do it anymore.
This makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so I get to like the halfway point, and then usually I'll get stuck for a minute, and then I'll go write the ending, and I'm like, I don't want to fill in the rest of it. Like, why do I gotta just write itself?
Do you find and again, kind of just relating what I experience, I tend to think of ideas for stories while I'm listening to music because I'm such a music brained person. Do you find that a certain other art form or medium tends to inspire what you want to write, or does it just sort of come from all over the place?
So, I mean, I started writing Legacy of Lies again after I was listening to Disturbed on a car road trip. So definitely music has some sort of impact with that. But Without You, the first short story in Without You was originally called Stages of Grief. Now it's called Casey. That came from me sitting on my couch and like completely zoning out and staring at a Halloween decoration on the wall. I don't even know if I was in the room. I was just looking at this sign. And then all of a sudden I had an idea and I was like, oh, I need to go write a book. So it comes from all over. But definitely the things that I've experienced play a big role in it because I like to write about things that I know because those are the things that I can make more realistic. Yeah. So it might just be like, oh, these are the colors that I saw on the way to the bus stop, or I really liked the way that ominous tree was blowing, or, and it'll stick in my head. Yeah, thank you to Disturbed for getting me to start writing Legacy of Lies again, because that was not an easy feat.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I love the idea. Sometimes, like, you'll see in a book, it won't be like a dedication. It'll be like sort of like the first page of the book. It'll be a quote. It'll be 2 quotes. And you like the first quote is like something important sounding or whatever. And then the second one will be lighter.
Yep.
I love the idea that whatever book that was, it has a quote and it's like George Washington. And then the second quote is, ooh, Dave Draymond.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the dedication part is wonderful, or the epigraph part at the beginning is wonderful. And I know a lot of us now we're putting playlists into our books. I know Wicked Little Rabbit has one. It's on YouTube because your girl, like I said, is broke. I don't have a Spotify, but there are definitely songs that I listen to and songs that people sent me that contributed to the development of that book. So even if I don't put them in there as like dedications or epigraphs, I'm still trying to include them with things because they are important and people will understand your headspace more if they're aware of them.
Yeah. I was just telling Katie, I've been rediscovering my affinity for Aphex Twin, and she hates the infamous video, depending on how you feel about it, for Come to Daddy by Aphex Twin. And I was like, oh, and there was this moment in the song that made me think of this, and I don't even remember what you said that made me think of that, but I'm going to play that part for you later.
Okay.
What did you say that made me think of that? I totally blanked. I was just so excited to talk about Aphex Twin.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's an awesome song and something, whatever. I'm so tired. I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought there.
It's okay. I made a sticker for Redbubble, and it just says in quotation marks, "Words are hard," and then the credit goes the author.
Yes.
Because all the time I say that words are hard, said the author.
That is true. But the good news is that massive brain fart, or as I like to call it now, massive brain spicy wind. Thank you for that, Sam. That's what I'm gonna start calling farts now, spicy wind.
Okay.
We're coming up on the end of the conversation, which has been wonderful, and we are so grateful for you joining us this evening. So tell everybody where they can find you on the internet.
Oh, goodness. Ever-changing presence on the internet. So most of my books, I mean, you can find all of my books on Amazon. Most of them are in Kindle Unlimited. I have short stories that aren't included in there just because they're short. I've got 2 audiobooks for Dealings in the Dark and Bound and Betrayed on Audible. So if you're looking for books, you can find those there. I have a website, samanthamoran.net, and that's where I do all my signed copies and take requests for appearances and things and book clubs. I do talk to book clubs if you reach out. So more than happy to do that. If it's more than an hour away, I do Zoom, because, life. And then I am on, for now, I'm on Facebook. I have a reader group there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Threads. Apparently I'm supposed to be on Blue Sky. I've had an account forever, but I haven't posted anything in an entire year. So I'm working on getting established there. And then, I have all the appearances that you can find on my website under my events. I try to do at least one signing a month. So most of them in 2025, I'm trying to balance between traveling and local things because I went everywhere in 2024 and I'm tired.
Well, this is good. This is releasing on the final Friday of the month, which is this month or this year, the day after Thanksgiving. Do you have an appearance or anything lined up for December?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be at the Lansing Mall on the weekend before Christmas.
Oh, well, then we're going to go.
Well, we're going to go visit you at the Lansing Mall.
Yeah, we'll have to try and set something up, maybe get lunch or something.
Yeah, the lovely woman who runs the comic book store in Lansing at the mall, she puts on craft shows there. And so I will be there on Saturday and Sunday for the weekend before Christmas. I imagine it's going to be quite busy at the mall. So I'm going to test my masking ability that weekend. But
good luck.
I'm looking to get a few more out there in 2024. And then I am taking an entire month off of events in January, which I have not done intentionally since I started publishing in the middle of 2022.
Oh, damn.
So recharge.
Well, listen, just let me know if you feel like you need it. I'll be security at your table. I'll just stand there and look big and mean and fuck off nasty. And, Yeah,
I think I could hire both of you guys to be security because Katie's quite
tall. Yeah, no, we're both big motherfuckers. No, nobody's messing with you.
We'll have Carl on this side, Katie on this side, John right here. We're up.
God,
cool.
yes.
We're
there you go.
John.
Samantha Moran, thank you so much for joining us for our November author profile.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I was like, I want to talk to Katie and Carl and be with Cheap Smut on a podcast. I was super scared. And then at Sinful Sightings, she was like, I'm not scary.
I'm not, I swear. I'm really nice.
We're just large. Goodbye, Sam.
Bye.